What's driving this optimism about a vaccine?
So I think globally, there are at least four candidates which are racing towards the finish line. And where India actually scores is in terms of capacity for manufacturing vaccines. So if you look at globally, there are around 5.7 billion doses of vaccines manufactured. And India alone has capacity for manufacturing 2.3 billion doses per year. So India has actually, some of the larger manufacturers have been able to strike partnerships with some of the global candidates. So Serum Institute of India, which is one of the largest capacities globally, has existing partnerships now with AstraZeneca and Oxford so that they can manufacture and commercialize their vaccine once it's approved. And they also have a partnership with Novavax, which is again another candidate which is in phase 3 clinical trials already. So just with Serum Institute, just through Serum Institute of India, we have access to two of the late stage candidates. Biologically is another, again, globally large manufacturer, which has partnered with Johnson and Johnson and has access to their vaccine candidate. They will be able to manufacture and commercialize it in India. So I think because of these partnerships, India definitely has multiple shots on the goal. And even beyond these global candidates, we have several indigenous candidates also in the pipeline, slightly earlier stage in phase 1 and phase 2. But again, enough options out there, and which is why I'm fairly optimistic that early next year, you will see the first few people starting to get vaccinated.
So, Nitya, what does it mean? What does it mean for the Indian healthcare sector and Indian healthcare plays? Are they more than just a safe haven during troubled times?
Absolutely. I think since COVID, you have seen a fairly sharp rally when it comes to healthcare and pharma in specific. And I think a lot of it does have to do with the fact that there is a lot of liquidity in the system, and people did flock to pharma because it's a relatively more resilient sector. Pharma, in fact, is pretty much the only sector with a positive growth outlook in FY21. But I actually believe that fundamentally we are actually at an inflection point, and from now on, you should actually start seeing a multi-year EPS growth cycle.
I think you were just talking about the challenges involved here with the vaccinations, and I just want to get an idea of a country that size. You know, if you've got 2 or 3 companies with vaccines, it's still going to take an awful long time to get everybody immunized.
No, absolutely. I think while I'm optimistic that there will be a vaccine on the market early next year, I think the last person to get the vaccine is probably at least 2.5 years away. And I'm actually seeing 3 challenges. Number one, even with the capacities we already have, I think it'll be fairly difficult to scale up to address a 1.3 billion population. And most of the late stage candidates, it seems likely that you would need 2 doses per person. So that's 1.3 billion population, and you multiply it by 2, that's 2.6 billion doses that would be required. Maybe lesser for herd immunity, but it's still a very, very large number. And I don't think in 2021 we would have enough capacities to vaccinate everybody. The second challenge I'm seeing is even assuming that we solve for the capacity issues somehow, if you look at the kind of vaccine programs that India has experience with, these are largely pediatric vaccines and vaccines for pregnant women. The scale we're talking about in an adult vaccination program is easily 3 to 4x what India has experienced so far with. So cold chain storage and trained manpower to administer vaccines will be a very, very big challenge. And if you look at some of the recent programs that the government has implemented, it seems like the throughput of the system is around 15 to 20 million doses per month. And that is nowhere close to what would be required if you want to vaccinate at least 60-70% of the population. So I think these are some
Nitya,
of the
tell me, though,
challenges.
Just tell me, you say that the private sector should be involved here and not the government. Surely it should be a combination of both.
Absolutely. I think it has to be a combination of both. I think the point I was making earlier is that if the government were to take on the mantle entirely on its shoulders, then it's going to take a very long time for us to access the vaccines, which is why I think the private sector should step in. This would definitely bolster both cold chain storage and trained manpower capacities. I think the government and the private sector needs to get really creative in terms of, can you repurpose some of the cold chain storage that already exists, let's say for other injectables or even fruits and vegetables. Can pharmacists actually step up and supplement your trained manpower that's actually required? I think you really need to involve the private sector and push the boundaries of thinking in terms of how you can supplement the existing capacities.
Nitya, how do you respond to those who say that India's pharma boom will fade because we've already seen how, perhaps the U.S. rivals are consolidating. They're also keeping prices down. And on top of that, Indian pharma players are behind in terms of biosimilar, which is more, the territory of China as well as Korea. Your thoughts on that?
So yes, I think Indian pharma companies in the generic space have underperformed in the last 3 or 4 years because of the price erosion and the distributor consolidation. But what I'm actually excited about is the opportunity that is now coming through in the form of complex generics. These are, difficult to make respiratory inhalers, very difficult formulations, long-acting depot injectable formulations. Some of the larger players have been investing through this down cycle in the last 3-4 years. You've seen R&D investments have been stepped up. And I actually see monetization of these R&D investments now coming through. So, which is why I think at least in a few names, again, I think the larger names that have made these investments are the ones that are likely to benefit. So in those companies, a Cipla or a Lupin or a Dr. Reddy's, for example, these are companies that have been investing in complex generics and have a maturing pipeline in this space. So these are opportunities which can easily be $60-70 million per product in terms of revenues and very high gross margins as well. And that's where I think the growth and the margin expansion opportunities coming through in the future. So which is why I believe that at least these companies should now be part of the upcycle, and you'll start seeing EPS grow continuously from here on.